NFL Week 3 is in the books, so let's tier rank every single team. And I want to give a little bit of a side note before we start. Number one, this is not the standings. If you want to see an order of teams based on standings, go on ESPN, Bleacher Report, Yahoo, whatever you want to use, and look at their standings. This is not a tier ranking based strictly on standings. There is circumstances, what I think the teams can be, is there injuries, etc. that we will address, but I wanted to start off with that as well. This is my tier list. It's not your tier list. It's going to be a little controversial, but I got logic behind everything, and I'm down to have any football discussion you want in the comment section down below. But please remember, it is not standings, and it is not solely based on just what we've seen in these 3 weeks. We know that Patrick Mahomes is good. Even if his stats are worse than Daniel Jones right now, if we did a quarterback draft, you would take Patrick Mahomes over Daniel Jones. Just remember that logic in your head when you see the tier list. Now, as always, we will start with the 2026 Mock Draft Season tier, the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are 0-3, and if you're 0-3, you do have a 2% shot of making the playoffs per NFL history in the Super Bowl era, and I just don't see the Dolphins being that team. They have one of the worst defenses in football. Their quarterback, every time they're in a big spot, you could essentially count on him to turn the ball over. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are both question marks in terms of health and production. I don't love Mike McDaniel, but the team did fight for him this week, so maybe he has a little bit more buy-in in that locker room than I truthfully thought he had. The Cleveland Browns are still in this tier. The Cleveland Browns might be the best team in this tier, truthfully speaking. They do have one of the better defenses in football, and Judkins actually looks pretty solid, and they are coming off of an upset victory over the Packers, but ultimately with their quarterback situation, I just don't see a world where they're picking outside of the top 10 picks in the draft. But in a loaded quarterback draft, I actually do think if Cleveland can get a top-tier pick and get their guy at QB, with Stefanski, with that O-line, with some of the weapons that they have, some of the young pieces, they actually could be a playoff team next season. The Tennessee Titans are in this tier. I do believe in Cam Ward. I think that we've seen enough flashes to actually believe in him being a good player, and the defense has some pieces on it I like, Simmons, Tavondre Sweat, etc. But their head coach, Callahan's got to go. It's twice now in 3 weeks that he has just absolutely screwed up a clock management situation, and they got to get Cam Ward a little bit more help in terms of offensive personnel. A new team in this tier, the New York Jets. I had them in Frisky, and listen, they're going to be a competitive out, but they're winless, and there's a reason for that, whether it's Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields. They don't have their quarterback of the future, but similar to the Browns, I actually kind of like the spot the roster's in, an underrated offensive line. Garrett Wilson is one of the more underrated receivers in football. Breece Hall, Braylon Allen are solid, and Aaron Glenn's going to have that defense right. I have no doubts about that. The New Orleans Saints. This is for you. The one guy who was in the comment section last week telling me I had to move the Saints up. The Saints are too low. You got to show some respect to the Saints, man. I think Seattle could have scored 70 on them. They're a bad football team. They might be the worst football team in the entire NFL. Their quarterback situation, garbage. Their receivers outside of Chris Olave, garbage. Their defense, old, and they should probably have a fire sale. They can't, I mean, yeah, New Orleans ain't good. You guys know that. The New York Giants are in this tier. They're 0-3. Brian Daboll, I'm starting to lose faith. I was a Daboll truther, a Daboll believer, but what I've seen from the play calling, I mean, don't get me wrong, Russ is not good. That Cowboys secondary made him look good for a week, but he's not good. But some of the play calling isn't great, but you got some young, exciting pieces, Scadaboo, Abdul Carter, Malik Neighbors. So, you know, you want to see Dart out there this season, absolutely, and I think you will in 2 weeks in that Saints game, but they're just not going anywhere this season. And I still have the Panthers in this tier. I thought about moving them up to the Frisky tier after a 30-0 victory over Atlanta, but I'm going to need to see more from Carolina. I'm going to need some proof that it wasn't just a one-off week, a desperate team, and a sleepy Falcons squad. I like Bryce Young, but the offense didn't exactly impress me in that victory. Michael Penix just played one of the worst football games I've seen in a long time. But the Panthers, they're close to being moved up. If they could get a win this week, they may get out of the 2026 mock draft season tier, which is pretty rare. The Frisky tier, we're going to start with the Cincinnati Bengals, man. They got absolutely destroyed this week by the Minnesota Vikings. They are 2-1 though, and again, they said that they were going to stick with Jake Browning, but I think if this team goes out and gets a Jameis Winston or a Kirk Cousins, like they will be a Frisky team. They could be a 500 team, and if Burrow could make it back, they could go on a playoff run. It's very unlikely, but I'm not ready to just completely count them out yet. If they just say that they're staying with Jake Browning, then sure, we could count them out. But I think if you got Jameis in there, they'd be competitive. The New England Patriots, their only win this season is over the Miami Dolphins. They've been competitive in all three of their games, and Drake May, I do think we see flashes, but the offensive line isn't good. There's no true wide receiver one. The running game situation was just disgusting in that game. Like, the Patriots handed that game to Pittsburgh with 4 fumbles. So the Patriots will remain in Frisky because I do think that they're going to be competitive week to week, but bad showing from them. The Las Vegas Raiders, I'm a loss away because they play the Bears this week. If the Bears could beat up on them, they might move down. The Raiders are a team that I thought was going to be way more competitive than they are. The defense gave up 41 points to Marcus Mariota. They can't run the ball behind that offensive line. Genty's fighting for his life out there. And Geno just isn't that great, man. And I kind of knew that going into the year, and some people online convinced me he was better than he was. But Geno just ain't that great. The Houston Texans, man, this hurts. This is a team that I believed in this year at a high level, and they're 0-3. Every one of their games has been a 1-score game. So similar to the Patriots, I do think that they are frisky week to week and competitive week to week and will be in close games. That defense is going to keep things close, but the offense, no run game, no receiving threats outside of Nico Collins, CJ Stroud. For the offense to work, CJ Stroud has to be great to excellent on every drive, and he's been bad to good, but it's been fluctuating, and thus the offense just can't move the ball unless he's playing excellent. And quite frankly, he hasn't been playing excellent. I got the Dallas Cowboys in this tier. Thought about moving them down. We'll see how long CeeDee Lamb is out and what the offense could be without him. In terms of teams in this tier, Dallas has the second best unit. Houston's defense is the best unit, but Dallas's offensive unit, when healthy, is the second best unit in this tier. Dak and CeeDee and Pickens and Turpin and Javonte Williams, that unit can certainly move the ball up and down the field. Their defense is so susceptible, and their secondary is whack. I know that Micah Parsons, everybody's making a point out of that. I don't even think with Parsons, this defense was going to be good. It would have been better than what it is, but I don't think it was going to be good. And I got Atlanta in this tier. A lot of people told me coming into the season that Atlanta was going to compete with Tampa Bay. That was just never going to be the case. And this game versus the Panthers, 30-0. It's just not what a playoff team does. Michael Penix, it's going to be ups and downs throughout the year. It's basically his de facto rookie season, and this was certainly a down this week for Atlanta. We move to the Fringe Playoff tier, and I got the Pittsburgh Steelers in this tier, man. The Steelers are 2-1, and like Tomlin always does, he finds ways to win football games, but I haven't been impressed by them in any performance. The Patriots had to hand them that game. The week 1 victory versus the Jets was probably a closer game than it should have been because their defense wasn't playing great. Now, their defense did come around in week 3. I'm excited to see them face off against the Minnesota Vikings in the first ever Dublin, Ireland game. If they leave that game 3-1, we might have to respect Pittsburgh as a playoff team just because of how wonky things are going record-wise in the AFC right now. I got Chicago as a fringe playoff team. If you guys watched my week 3 reactions video yesterday, you'll know I want to drink the Chicago juice so bad. I want to be bought into this team. I do think Caleb has shown flashes of seriously top 10 quarterback potential, but I also know that they're coming off of playing Dallas's secondary, which made Russ have the second best game of his career at this point in time. So I want to ease into believing in the Chicago Bears, a matchup versus the Raiders this week and then a bye week. So hopefully they go into that 2-2 and can come out of that feeling good about themselves. Next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings, a team where I think putting these guys in the same tier is fair because that week 1 game on Monday Night Football is very competitive. I think seriously 6 times out of 10, the Bears probably win that game. But in that instance, we saw J.J. McCarthy lead that comeback. Then 2 weeks ago against Atlanta, McCarthy looks absolutely terrible. And then against Cincinnati, the Vikings show and flex the talent on the roster. Darisaw back out there, and the offense looks like it's moving well. So maybe it was a Darisaw offensive line thing. Jordan Mason looks really strong. Isaiah Rodgers has the best game ever in PFF history. So I do think the Vikings can still compete for the playoffs in the NFC, but the NFC is pretty damn loaded, man. You also got Seattle in this tier. They're 2-1. Their one loss has come to the 49ers. That NFC West looks pretty loaded, to be completely honest with you. Seattle's got a sweet defense. Sam Darnold's had back-to-back good weeks. Smith and Jigba is proving that he's here to stay as a legit wide receiver one in this league. And then I got their division rival, the Arizona Cardinals, in this tier as well. And the Cardinals are a good football team, but the fact that they couldn't go to San Francisco and beat the Niners, who were on their backup quarterback, without George Kittle, without Brandon Ayuk, Nick Bosa tears his ACL mid-game, and you still couldn't find a way to win. That does worry me in terms of, can you actually still ever really believe in Arizona? The playoff team tier, I still got Denver in this tier. I know Denver's 1-2, but I think if they execute properly, you could argue that this team could be 3-0 and at least 2-1. They probably should have won that game versus the Colts. They just really shot themselves in the foot at the end of that game. I do think that Bo Nix will get better as the year progresses. The defense has a ton of talent. The run game is real. There are signs here with the Broncos at 1-2 that point to them being a good team. And again, the way that the AFC is so muddied out right now record-wise, I don't think the 1-2 start to the season is quite as detrimental as it could have been in previous years for Denver. Colts fans, you're going to be mad at me. I have the Colts in this playoff team tier. And I understand if you think that the Colts should be moved up, I get your argument there. They have statistically been the best offense in football. Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor are operating at elite levels through the first 3 weeks. They've also played Tennessee and Miami, and like I mentioned, probably 8-9 times out of 10, Denver beats them in that game. And credit to the Colts, they fought, battled, and hung in there with Denver and won that football game. I just got to see a little bit more. And maybe that's my own personal, bias as to what I thought about the Colts going into the preseason that's holding me back from not moving them up yet. But they got a matchup versus the Rams this week in LA. So I think we're going to see a lot about who the Indianapolis Colts are this week. And you have my word, Colts fans. You beat the Rams, you're moved up into the Super Bowl contenders tier minimum. You go out there and dominate the Rams, shit, you might make your way to the top of the list. The San Francisco 49ers, 3-0. Shanahan, backup quarterback, no tight ends, no Brandon Ayuk. You got Nick Bosa getting hurt mid-game. Doesn't matter. All this guy is doing right now is winning football games. 3-0 for the 49ers. They're one of 6 teams to be 3-0. And again, when you get Purdy back, when you get Kittle back, you get Ayuk rolling, Pearsall in his role, Juwan Jennings, that offense is going to be firing. Robert Saleh has this defense playing better than I thought that they would. The Bosa torn ACL does worry me. But I think that the 49ers with that cupcake schedule are easily a playoff team this year. And I got Washington in. Listen, without Jaden Daniels out there, there's just not going to be any movement to Washington. I thought it was an impressive win over the Raiders. I thought it said a lot more about the Raiders than the Commanders. But hey, Dan Quinn knows how to coach. Mariota, one of the better backups in football, went out there, did their thing, got a special teams touchdown. If you're a Commanders fan, 0 complaints this week. Up next, we got a pretty loaded Super Bowl contenders tier. I'm going to leave the Baltimore Ravens in this tier at 1-2 because the talent is there, and they are potentially 2 Derrick Henry fumbles away from being 3-0 to open the season, potentially 2-1. Very similar to Denver, the way I talked about them. Their 1-2 record is bad, but it feels like that there's not easy fixes, but if they just execute what they're doing and play higher quality football, they would be winning these games. And they're not at a talent deficit by any means. And again, the way the AFC is so muddied right now, I think Baltimore will be fine. Remember, they started last year 1-2. The defense looked bad, and they finished the year as a consensus top 3 team in the AFC. I'm not going to overreact to where Baltimore's at. They've earned the leeway for me to still respect them as contenders despite their record. And I still feel the same way about the Kansas City Chiefs, man. I am just realizing this is on me. I forgot to put the Jags in a tier. I would put the Jags in the Fringe Playoff tier. For the Jags, they're 2-1, could be 3-0, but I don't know what to think about Trevor Lawrence. 5 drops in the last game, but the defense is legit. Sorry, Jags fans, if you exist. back to the Chiefs. They're 1-2 now. The defense looked legit. The Chiefs game versus the Giants on Sunday Night Football, was it boring? Absolutely. But did it look like the Chiefs of last year? Yeah. And until we see this offense with Worthy and Rice back out there, I gotta be honest, I'm probably leaving the Chiefs in this tier. Listen, if they get to 1-5, I'll definitely move them down. I don't see that being a reality. My guess is in 3 weeks' time, they're 2-4, and I still have them in the contenders tier, and I'm getting a lot of pushback. When you make 3 straight Super Bowls and you have the best quarterback in the world on your team, I'm going to give you this benefit of the doubt. I know it angers some people. It is what it is. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield, 3 straight game-winning drives to open up the season. O-line, banged up. D-line, banged up. Receivers, Godwin not playing, McMillan not playing, Mike Evans, hamstring injury, banged up. Shit don't matter. Baker Mayfield has that dog in him. That D-A-W-G dog in him. Emeka Egbuka, kid's filthy. Bucky Irving, really nice. Todd Bowles knows how to coach. Tampa Bay, 3-0. You got to respect it. You have to respect what Tampa Bay's putting out there. Detroit, man. Detroit and Baltimore finished up a Monday Night Football game a while ago. I thought Detroit bullied Baltimore ultimately, but I'm going to have them in the same tier, 38-30, even with Detroit's bullying. The run game's legit. The offensive line looks to have figured it out. Amon-Ra is as consistent as you could be as a wide receiver. And sneaky, Detroit looking like they might actually have a real pass rush when Aiden Hutchinson is out there. So, hey, if that Detroit defense could stay healthy, maybe they could go on a run this season. I'm moving the Packers down. I know some people will leave the Packers up in the Super Bowl favorites tier. For me, you lose to the Browns, there has to be some level of punishment for that. And this was my worry with Jordan Love, that you can't fully trust him. Now, the Packers are still legit. I still believe in the defense. I still believe in Josh Jacobs. There were some wide receiver injuries, and they play Dallas this Sunday night, and they're probably going to smack the shit out of them. But this loss is they're still a Super Bowl contender team, and they could certainly go on a run. But it's just enough to pull them out of the favorite tier, in my estimation. And I got the Rams in this tier. Truthfully, I think that the Rams, if you gun to my head right now, I'd say they're the second best team in the NFC. Went toe-to-toe with Philly, in Philly. Stafford, I think he's legit. Puka and Devontae Adams proving to be one of the better wide receiver duos in football. And that defense, man, it's got players. Yeah, Poona Ford, Verse, Byron Young, Kitchens, Curl, Lake. Like they are loaded on both sides of the ball. McVay, still an excellent play caller. Thought he was a little conservative versus the Eagles, and it may have cost him the game, but 2 blocked field goals, it sucks, but they're still obviously a really good football team. And then we get to the Super Bowl favorites tier, man. I'm starting off with the Chargers, 3-0 in their division, beat the Chiefs, beat the Raiders, beat the Broncos. Justin Herbert is playing MVP caliber football. Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, and Quentin Johnson, I can't believe I'm saying this, have looked like the best wide receiver trio in football to open up the season. I like what I saw from Omarion Hampton. I feel like he's starting to get it rolling. And that defense, you could take 5 defensive starters off that team. Jesse Minter got them boys balling. Derwin James is looking like a freaking all-pro. No Khalil Mack this week, no problem. All the Chargers do is win. Jim Harbaugh is a top 10 coach in the sport. Justin Herbert's a top 10 quarterback in the sport. And shit is coming together for the Chargers, and I'm going to put some respect on their name. Buffalo is an example of why they're in this tier and the Packers are in this tier. They both had trap games this week where they were 2-0 playing a desperate 0-2 team. And Buffalo had a short week and it was a division rival. And Josh Allen didn't make mistakes, moved the ball down the field, and got shit done. And I get it. Jordan Love isn't going to be Josh Allen, but that's the difference, man. Winning games like that matters too. And Josh Allen's playing really good football. If you told me that you think he's the best quarterback in the planet right now, you probably wouldn't get pushback. And that rushing attack with him and James Cook is still very legit. And then Philly, 3-0, defending Super Bowl champions. The last 17 games that Jalen Hurts has played start to finish, the man is 17-0. The passing game gets going this week. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith look good. Saquon Barkley isn't even rolling at this point. The defense looks solid. Special teams, everything is there. And until the defending Super Bowl champions lose a game, they're going to be sitting in the Super Bowl favorites tier. They have one of, if not the most talented rosters in football, a top 5 quarterback, a top 5 running back, a top 5 wide receiver duo, a top 5 offensive line, and a top 5 defense. That's all facts. As always, though, this was just my tier list. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you disagree with in the comment section down below. Apologies for forgetting to put Jacksonville in the Fringe Playoff spot. I'm sure some of you guys had a heart attack thinking I was moving Jacksonville up to a Super Bowl contender team. That's on me. That's on. I didn't put them in the notes. I do a little notes, a little behind the scenes. I do a little notes, you know, laying out the tiers. I just forgot to write them down, if I'm being completely honest with you. But that's where we're at. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you love the NFL. Make sure you hit the like button if you like this style video. That way I know what you like, and I will catch you next time. Peace.